Hi, welcome to Lugal's Little Creature, Lugal's World. We have Rachel Walker. She is an author of Lupa, She-Wolf of Rome, Mother of Destiny, and Embody Your Inner Wolf, the Pantheon, and Romans. She is a sacred dance teacher, priestess, empowerment, and flower essence coach. Rachel is the creator of Wolf Woman Rising, of a wisdom school where she empowers you to embody wisdom and reclaim your wild and create a life of purpose. Through online community courses, training, and in-person retreats, she initiates women into feminine arts, nature, alchemy, and divine connection. Her desire has always been to create a bridge between history and spirituality, mythology and well-being, transmuting mythology into embodied wisdom, and has become a tool of healing, empowerment, and awakening for men and women. Rachel reads history and religious studies at the university and went on to complete postgraduate qualifications in history and heritage movement. She has also worked in the heritage sector for over a decade, primarily working with children and interpretation, as she has claimed to work in over 5 different castles. Rachel is also the founder and principal teacher of Under the Dance, a tree school of sacred dance and healing. She teaches sacred dance, including belly dancing, Polynesian dance, movement meditation, and archetypal dance. Using her journey for over 17 years experience of teaching and training, she empowers and inspires students to deeply understand and practice courage, trust, and authenticity. So, excellent. Why don't you start telling us something that is burning in your soul?
Moment. Um, for me at the moment is, let me just have a moment to just put it in words. Is acceptance, I think, is like for me, I've just finished writing my 3rd book, and I've been like, I just go, 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 like a whole year now, and I've been absolutely non-stop, and I've just stopped. I've come to the end of kind of a road, and really honoring that space. I can feel it within myself. I just want to work, like so passionately want to work, but it's I've been really struggling to kind of like not have the fire over burning, and to allow myself to rest. And that's what I'm passionately trying to do at the moment, is to, because I'm all fire like all the time. I'm constantly go, go, go. That's just in my nature, my being. And so to be still like the earth is, gosh, and me. So I'm really practicing that, because I preach a lot about it. I'm always telling people to, about sacred rest. And then that's probably the thing that I struggle with the most. So the moment, that's what everything is going into. My mind, body, spirit is kind of in rest mode, or attempting rest mode.
Beautiful. So tell us about the underworld.
The underworld. So, I mean, for me, the underworld fascinates me as a realm kind of where the wolves go, because I work with wolf energy. So, and a lot of the ancient kind of mythologies and ancestors, they kind of saw the wolves going into the caves, into these dens. They didn't know what was happening, but they went into this other place, and and then they came out, often with babies. They didn't know what happened. So the elder people, the ancient people, believe that, that the wolves had like free in the underworld, that they could guard that threshold and go into it and come in and out. And so for me, I kind of consider it as the realm of the wolves, and I see them as guardians of that place. And often when you're working with them, they will take you to the underworld, which I kind of call the inner world. That's how I see it, is it's somewhere inside of ourselves. It's under the layers, that we've created. It's under kind of the skin, that we have, not just of the earth, but of ourselves. And the walls take us into those inner places, So, I mean, and we have names for it here in Wales, and it's called the other world as well. But for me, the underworld is the inner world. And we go there all the time. It's not something that's just after life, like after death. It's something that we go, throughout the day and throughout the moon cycles, throughout our own cycles in life. We go there, throughout the month, or just in situations that happen in our life. I don't consider the underworld to be the afterlife at all.
Speaking of the afterlife, If any of us were to like die tomorrow, do you know any thoughts or wisdom regarding if we find ourselves in the afterlife, what do we do? What's it like?
See, I have no opinion at all on the afterlife, like what it is, because I fully accept that I don't know. And I think it's arrogant to assume that we do know, actually, because we can't possibly know that. Okay, some people might get glimpses, or some people might have seen it perhaps in some way, but I think it's going to be completely unique to us all. Like I don't know. I don't have a clue what's going to come. Um, I think that there's going to be a huge amount of surrender, and possibly I think that the fear that we have is all fear is from our human body, isn't it? It's a human emotion. So once we're separate from this body, we won't have any fear at all. So we won't have this worry. We won't need to know, because it will just happen. It'll be an experience that we can't even comprehend or consider right now. So we can't know, we won't know. And I think that's the way it should be. I think we should not know. I think we should not understand it, because it would just blow our minds. We probably have to do it, wouldn't we, if we understood it? We'd have to go there now, because our human brains and bodies wouldn't be able to comprehend it at all. So I think once you die, there's no problems. You don't need advice, because you'll just do it. It'll just be natural. It'll just happen. We worry too much. I think we worry way too much, but that worrying is part of our human body experience, so that there won't be any worry after when it comes. I don't think, personally.
Thank you. Do you know where we are on the timeline mythologically, or like what is humanity like? Where are we in the narrative of the cosmos?
You know what? I've been thinking about this recently, in that I've just finished my book on Roman mythology, and I was looking at the age of Saturn, then it goes into the age of Jupiter. And then I was thinking, gosh, okay, so what comes after Jupiter? Time of Hermes, of Mercury. So that's our time now, isn't it? The communication age. And he's all about communication. So that would be like, Facebook and Instagram and Skype, all those things, that going into communication. And I think we're kind of, that's developed, hasn't it, recently, in the last 100, 200 years, but even before that with writing. And I think that we're coming towards the end of that. And if you look mythologically, the son of Mercury, or Hermes, is actually Pan, the great god of the wild. So I think that age is going to come next. I think this is the way, because when they're moving through that kind of like, from Saturn, his son, to Jupiter, Jupiter to Hermes, and whether they're literal gods or whether they're kind of metaphorical names, for the ages. I think we're in that Mercury age now. We've gone from Jupiter, which was the patriarchy, Jupiter being God. And then we've kind of moved into communication age, who have his son, Hermes, and then eventually we'll come next to his son, the great wild god, the horn god, Pan. I think how it's going to go. But whether I'll live to see it, I don't know.
What does a Pan age look like?
I think we'll move on from communication in the way that now, like communication, like Mercury is very structured. He's about the air element. And if we move into the age of Pan, he's the god of the wildwood. He's the earth element. So I think we're going to move on from the forms of communication that we use now. So actually, I think there's going to be a time that's beyond, Facebook and Instagram. We're going to come back to the earth, because that's what happens, the wildness.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Hopefully that'll come next.
Do you have any, can you correlate any of our modern times to any ancient times, and help us see some myths or some wisdoms regarding similar patterns?
Yeah, so I have a feeling that these things all come around, again, that I think maybe even perhaps like, the age of Saturn and then Jupiter and Hermes and Pan has all happened before, and we're just kind of recirculating. But why I love myths so much is that they do, even though they're ancient and they're ancient people completely in different situations and different life experiences, there's these threads that carry on all the way through. So the myth that I love the most, like that resonates most for me, is the one I wrote my first book about, which is about Lupa, the she-wolf of Rome. And she was there at the foundation of Rome. And she was the she-wolf that found two princes that had been left in the water to be murdered. And then she took them into her cave. They went into her cave, vulnerable babies. And then their time with her, they then came out ready to be kings and founded the great city and empire and, you know, an age that was Rome. And be like,
I don't know why I'm getting chills when you shared that. It's so powerful.
it is a super powerful story. Like, and what I love about the most is that why like Lupa is my guidance, why she resonates so much, is that when I read this story, I thought, gosh, that time when she took those two young babies into the darkness of the cave and they were reborn there, I felt that as all the times that I've been taken into the cave myself. I've been taken into the darkness, into the death, and then have been reborn out. And she does that, you know, she comes forward for that. And so that story, I think we live that story all the time, and we think that we're going to get stuck in the cave in the darkness and the dark night of the soul. We think we're not going to come back out, but actually the wolf mother is there. She takes us in and then she brings us back out, and we always come back out. But what she's teaching is in there in the darkness of the cave is vital and important. Like, we need it. We have to go there at some point.
Have you worked, or do you know, would you talk about the fixed stars a bit?
Fixed, I don't know anything about that. Do I? Fixed stars?
That's the stars outside of the solar system relating to ancient culture.
Oh, I don't know anything about that, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Tell me about, is there anything you know about beings from other realms, like aliens or elves, or if you talk about the other mystical beings?
So again, I'm quite comfortable in my ignorance that I don't know what these other beings are. That I mean, I know that they're there. Like I was just sitting the other day, like I was waiting for my cat, who's currently having a love affair. And I was looking up the clouds, just thinking about a question, and I saw the clouds move into a shape. And I just knew it was the god Apollo. Like, and I don't know why I know that, and I don't know where he's come from. I don't know what he is. I just knew that, and I just think it's enough to just know. Like, I think it's arrogant to try and kind of like assume that we know, or try to think that we know everything, that we have that capacity as humans. I think the most important thing, lesson we can have as humans, is just to surrender and to just be in it. You know, like, why do we need to know? Like, you know, I don't know. Like, I just know that the beings are there, that there are other beings, and I'm just quite content with that. Like, I'm curious. You know, I love learning about them, and I just, yeah, I'm quite happy, like, being in that ignorance of, you know, and just that surrender of it just is what it is. Like, you know, I don't need to be in control of that. And I think this knowing, or wanting to know all the time, is wanting to control. And when we control things, we're doing it, you know, in a very kind of in our human way, which is so very limited, you know, and we can't control everything. We need to just accept that they are just there, and it is just there, and it is all going to be okay, and it's all there to support, you know. So I don't try to overthink things. I just they are there, and they appear, and they will do what they need to do, and I just do what I'm going to do, you know, keeping to my lane, and offering what I can give, and being of service, and just trusting that those that support me, and that it's all part of a great tapestry. You know, we're all different threads, but, you know, the green thread in a tapestry isn't worried about what the red thread's doing. It's just doing its own thread. You know, it's contributing its part, and it lets all the other threads just contribute.
What if my thread is seeing all the other threads? What if that's my thread?
Well, then that's for you to explore that and to share that. You know, I mean, for me, it isn't, you know, kind of my, you know, I know what my service is, I know what my dharma is, you know, but if that's yours, then you do that, because that's important. Like I said, we're all, you know, like with my wolf mythology and my wolf wisdom, you know, we're all different members of the pack, so we're all contributing something different. We can't all be contributing the same thing. It's important that we offer our uniqueness, and there are going to be some people, like I said before, that have seen like the afterlife or seen other beings, and they are there to channel these things. So they're, you know, that's their service that they're offering. I don't feel like it's my service to connect to aliens or other beings, like necessarily. I mean, the deities come forward for me, you know, like I definitely work with goddess and god energy. But whether I consider them aliens, I don't know. I consider them part of like the part of this realm, I think, this universe. Whereas I would kind of define aliens as from different universes.
Tell me about what is the experience of having these wolf protectors, and how did that first come to you?
So the wolves first came to me. I mean, the wolf that first came to me is Lupa, the she-wolf. So she is kind of the matriarchal mother wolf of kind of European mythology, really. So she came to me when I was going through my own dark night of the soul. I was in her cave, you know, I was in the darkness, and she's been with me several times. So the first time she appeared to me, the first time I went through a very dark night of the soul was when I went through sexual assault. And then she came to me even more strongly later, you know, a few years ago when I was made redundant from my job and didn't know where I was going. I was literally completely lost. And she came forward, and I find that both her and wolf energy in general is very fierce, very strong. It's very powerful. So, you know, I often say that, you know, like to my students or people that have asked me about wolf energy, you know, like they're intrigued, but they're thinking maybe it's going to be a bit too much to start out with. So I say start out with dogs, you know, because dogs are the descendants of wolves. So start out with dog energy and then move on to wolf. Because the thing is with wolf is that, you know, wolf is very fierce, that they will get the job done, and they expect you to do that as well. They expect you to match them, you know, in that fierceness, in that tenacity, in showing up. So, you know, there's kind of like, you know, oh, I might do it, or I'll do a little bit of this, or I'll do a little bit of that. You know, they expect you to, if change is needed, to create that change, you know, and to not mess about, to do it. And often when their presence comes forward, their energy comes forward, it is exceptionally powerful, and it can feel like if anybody's needing protection, they are superpowers to call it. They are so big, and they will envelop you, you know, completely around your space. But you know, there is variations within wolf energy. So I talk about the spiritual council of wolf, which is talking about like the elder wolves, the parent wolves, the puppies, the lone wolves. They all have a slightly different energy. So the pups, you know, the wolf pups will be more of a playful energy to work with. You know, if you're thinking about your sexuality, or the lone wolf, you know, if you're kind of searching within yourself, like, who am I? Where am I going? They're a good energy. But the grandmother and grandfather wolves can be quite, you know, quite intense, I think. So, but in a good way, you know, just in like you have to pull the plaster off, you know, to let the wound heal. You know, it can be that kind of feeling, I think, sometimes. But yeah.
Have you when I first went to the realm of the gods, I was completely terrified out of my mind. I want to know, have you what is to you is the most terrifying deity, or the most like awe-inspiring? And I also don't want to I'm not denigrating them when I said that, because the terror that I got from the Divine Mother, I never have so much more reverence for my main deity, the Divine Mother, than from the terror that I experienced. So I do say that, understanding the duality between terror and reverence.
So I've never had a deity that has scared me. Like, I found them terrifying. I've always found that the divine has had a very loving approach. However, saying that, my own fears have come up from me, not them creating it. Like, the deities never caused fear in me, but I have felt fear. I think the deity I have felt fear in myself is when I've worked with the Morrigan, from Irish mythology, again, a wolf goddess. And the reason being is that I knew that I would have to work, I would have to sort my shit out, and that's what feared me, because she deals with, things like, like death, and the underworld.
Which goddess is this?
Sorry, the Morrigan.
Oh, the Morrigan, yeah.
So that's because I'm scared, not being good enough or failing, or it was my own insecurities. That it's because again, she requires you to do the deep work, so she's not airy fairy at all. So that's why I kind of gosh, I feel intimidated by her, I suppose is the word, because the healing that she offers, the potential she offers, is so huge. But
wow,
yeah, everything else, I think everybody else has been quite quite approachable.
Excellent. Please talk about the can you talk about Pluto, the deity that related to the Pluto energy or the scorpionic energy? I love talking about those.
Yeah. So Pluto is kind of is it's a name that was given to a Roman mythology, Roman deity. It was actually called Orcus. So Pluto actually comes from Pluton. So Pluton means wealth or riches. So it's referring to Orcus, the Roman god of the dead. When in his aspect as being the god of the earth. So the riches of the earth, the minerals, the gold and the gems that are in the earth. So Pluto actually comes from that. So when you say Pluto, you're talking about the god of dead in his aspect as the god of wealth and god of riches. And I love that because, that he's the god of the dead, but he's also the god of wealth and riches. So he's shown that even in the darkness, even in the death, there is gems there. There is something that is precious about it. It's not all scary and doom and gloom. There's, there's grains of gold within all of the dirt of the earth. So yeah, I love that. And there's 3 different ways that the ancient Romans kind of address the god of the dead. And it's also important to point out that Pluto, the Orcus, he wasn't the god of death. He was the god of the dead and the underworld. So it's very different, so he doesn't cause death and he isn't involved with death. Pluto has nothing to do with death. They had different gods, like Corin, that was to death. Yeah.
I heard that have you heard of anyone doing rituals or energies for them? Because I heard in the ancient world they like to stay away from that in many places.
So I mean, I know in ancient Rome that they didn't like to mention kind of like the names of the gods of death or the underworld, because by they believed in the power of words. So by naming them, it was invoking them, so it was getting their attention. So they didn't want to kind of bring their attention to themselves, yet. So I mean, as for well, we're calling Pluto, kind of for him, there was no shrines for him in ancient Rome. And it was believed that the dead were always buried outside of the city. The places that they did connect to him, they had bodies of water or caves where they would do rituals and go into these realms, and people couldn't view that. Like a lot of the festivals and the rituals, they involved, the general public, yet the ones with the gods of the underworld, they didn't. It was just the priests and priestesses that would go into these other realms, in the caves or near the waters. But they generally, you know, this with the suspicion they weren't invoked, you know, even their names weren't invoked. So the only place that or time that you would invoke them would be on, you know, like your gravestone or your dedication, or you'd, you know, and that when they gave offerings to them, they would often bury things under the earth. So if it was the upper realm gods, like the heavenly gods, the air gods, like Jupiter, you know, god of the sky, they would burn the offerings, so the smoke would go up. Yeah, for like Pluto and the other underworld gods, they would always bury things or throw them into water. So it was fire to go up and then water and earth for messages or anything to go down.
Can you think of any myths related to balance? Because I feel that is a big theme in our day and age. And do you know any rituals or practices we can do to bring in more balance into our life?
Yeah, well, I think any of the wolf mythologies are great for balance because, I mean, wolves are a paradox. They really embody paradox, you know, because they're fierce predators, yet they're also, you know, gentle parents, you know, so they've got their fierce jaws and their teeth, yet they'll pick up their pups with those same teeth that can rip open a prey. And there's lots of them. I mean, my favorite one is my second book, which is, you know, the stories about Fenrir, you know, the great wolf of Norse mythology, and he's considered like to bring about the apocalypse, the Norse gods, you know, and he's considered, you know, bad and scary. And I wrote his story from his perspective. I channeled him through, and with him sharing about, you know, like he is considered to be the sun and the moon, and within
Wow.
him, his children become. He gives he. You know, he is the father of the sun and the moon. So his wolf pups.
Is that a solar eclipse energy too, or not?
Yeah, so he contains all of that. So because he's because of the apocalypse, you know, and the sun and the moon, he is the all and, you know, he is the wholeness that comes from, you know, the meeting of the sun and the moon, you know, when they are together, when they're working together, which of course is, you know, any eclipse energy is the sun and the moon coming together. You know, it's that partnership. And I think, you know, that he's considered like the nemesis. He's considered the end of the world. He's considered, you know, the darkness, what's scary and frightening. Yet at the same time, he is the sun and the moon, so he is the balance and the harmony. And perhaps that's what we fear the most, is this place of harmony, you know, this place of coming together, this place of joining, I think, the completeness. Because if something's complete, then it's done. And I think we have a fear of that, don't we? Of completeness. We have fear of endings, of the coming together. So, I mean, his myth fascinates me. That's why I wrote about it, because he is the harmony that is feared. You know, the end, the completion, the finality.
It's fascinating to me because I have when they look at my Vedic astrology, they see that it's called Rahu, the energy of the moon going over the sun. And I noticed unconsciously on my YouTube profile picture, my head was covering the sun, like the solar eclipse, and I didn't even realize it. And I do have a very strong need to have this balance, like this you know, satanic energy of like just equilibrium, right? And not liking to see it actually angers me to a degree when light is overly glorified, and I have this impulse to really, you know, center people in seeing the balance.
Yeah, well, we need both. You know, there's two parts of a whole. You know, a circle's always made of two sides, and I said this is why I love wars, because they are that paradox. And everything in life is a paradox. There is the night and the day. I mean, if it was always daytime, nothing could rest. So we need that darkness. You know, you see that, you know, all over. We have the winter and we have the summer. So it seems bizarre to you know, to not accept that you need that dark part. You know, nature shows us that it is essential, that actually it exists whether you want to accept it or not, and that we will go through it whether you accept it or not.
I do so much shadow work and so much like trying to face all the darkness within that I get worried that when I die it'll just be all like roses and sunshines, because I dwelled on death so much in my life.
Well, I think partly as well. We're kind of well, maybe we'll see a bit of what we expect to see. So if you keep thinking, oh, I'm going to see lots of roses, maybe you will, because but then, you know, look at roses, you know, in themselves, they're beautiful, scented, yet they have thorns. You know, they're the paradox as well, you know. So
I would love to talk about monsters or titans or these different, you know, the more terrifying things. And then especially when I think of like corporations and when I think of our day and age, you know, we like to think, oh, it's just very normal and oh, it's so peaceful. And then when I go into the spirit realm and see what's happening, the monsters have just transformed into these. But I want to hear your perspective on first and foremost monsters and all of that kind of category. And then if you see any correlation with how we can see them for today, because a big intention with my channel is kind of like I want this channel to be like special supernatural glasses where people can see the myths and the gods in the, you know, all around them.
So I think monster is a potentiality of everything, in that it's just a possibility, and it's something that everything can choose that, and it can be that. And I think it's an aspect of, like I said, everything. There are monsters, I think, in mythology, because just like, you know, just like the gods, you know, that it's a part of ourselves that we need these stories, we need these myths to relate to that part of ourselves, because, you know, we all have that monster within we are scared of, you know. Again, it's a potential part of ourselves that we fear, you know. For example, anger, we might consider that a monster within ourselves, and so we deny that. Like I remember one of my teachers very early on in my practices that we were working with anger, and she said, you know, do you have, you know, express your anger? And I had nothing. I was completely numb because I'd suppressed anger, because I'd made it wrong, I'd made it bad, I'd made it ugly. But then when I started to access it and come into it, I realized that actually some of that anger was righteous, because there was really stuff in the world that needed me to get angry about it, you know, because all the stuff that was being done wrong. So I would consider anger, you know, as a monster within myself that needed to be integrated, needed to be that paradox again, that needed to be understood. And I feel like monsters in myth are like that, you know. Like I have a soft spot kind of for the bad guys, you know, in mythology. He's head Fenrir. He's considered a monster. Like he was feared by the, you know, in Norse mythology by all of the gods, because he's going to, you know, kill Odin and bring about the apocalypse. Yet he was, you know, like when I tell his story, I'm like, well, everybody called him a monster. Everybody viewed him as a monster. I told him that's what he was. So of course that's what he thought he was. You know, if you're told something all the time, it's like a child. If you tell them you're stupid, you're stupid, they will think they're stupid, and they will begin to embody that, because that's what they're being conditioned into believing that they are. You know, so I monsters are an opportunity for us to, you know, when we learn about them, they're an opportunity to address that part of ourselves that is like them, you know, within us. You know, I personally don't believe that there's all these nasty bad things in the world that are out to get us and destroy us. I don't believe in that. I don't think that, I mean, probably people will probably not agree with this, but I don't believe like there's really nasty demons at the whole thing. They're just created just to kind of like annoy humans. I don't believe in that at all. You know, I believe we all have the potential to embody that, but I don't believe in these. I don't know. I've never like the ancient Greeks had this saying, like, you know, they didn't have a word for evil and good. What they called it instead is a words that mean right and unripe.
Yeah.
And it isn't ripe yet, it's unripe. So it's just not ready, you know, it's not fully developed, or it's not grown yet, you know, it hasn't got the learning or the understanding yet, you know. And if you look back in your whole life, you know, how you've grown and how you've developed, there were times when you were unripe, and perhaps those were the times when you were a monster, you know, and or other people in the world that we might consider monsters that are really like, you know, like like Hitler, you could consider him a monster. But he was just unripe. He hadn't learned yet. He hadn't grown. His soul wasn't at that point yet where he truly understood, where he was open with compassion, where he'd integrated his shadows. You know, there's probably abuse in his life somewhere that caused that part of him to come out. So, yeah, that's the way I look at it, is the ripe and unripe.
Beautiful. I wanted to ask, I love, one of my favorite topics on this channel is apocalypse. So if you could talk about that from whatever angle you feel called.
So again, I think and I think that's what I think we go through. I think apocalypse, we see it as, I think it's very much the Christian way of looking at it, is it's one time that's going to happen in, you know, a set time in the future, then that's it and it's done. Whereas I consider like the dark night of the soul, the apocalypse happens all the time. It's constantly happening. It's happening within ourselves. You know, every time we transform, we change. Every time we go into the cave of the wolf, we're going through an apocalypse. We're going through an end. You know, death is constant. It's not, it just happens at a set time. It only happens once. It's continuous. I mean, every year, you know, the trees are having an apocalypse. They're having a final end, but then, you know, they come back again. And even when a tree is cut, you know, that spirit or that genius, that dryad will come back in another form. And I think apocalypse is a threshold, you know, is just a time before another time. We might go through that threshold many, many, many times, and we just keep going through it. And it's almost like a rite of passage, like an initiation. You know, that's what I would consider that word to be encompassing, is any time that we are blown apart and then have to put ourselves back together again.
Can you talk about initiation? Like where you have a spiritual awakening and whatnot?
Yeah, so I think that before we're born, kind of like we have a blueprint, you know, a blueprint that is kind of our potentiality for that lifetime and what we could accomplish and the gifts that we have and the experiences that we're going to have, and what we're here to do. And then throughout our lives, you know, we are going to go to places where we have to really learn and be reminded of that, you know, reminded of that blueprint, what we're meant to do, our dharma, destiny, whatever you want to call it, you know. And I often find that our biggest initiations, you know, with my clients and stuff, the biggest initiations do come in those dark nights of the souls. This is why I call it the cave of the wolf. This is why I think going to the cave of the wolf is so important, you know, to look back on all of those times, which probably are our most difficult times, the times when we've been hurt, the times when we've, you know, felt our heart break, or we feel lost. You know, those, I think, are the initiations that test us and that steer us, you know, and show us what's possible, you know. And I don't think we have to go through initiation either. I think it is a choice, you know, that we can do things and given things. And you can actually, if you stay in the cave of the wolf, if you stay in the darkness, you won't actually have the initiation. If you stay in the darkness, then you'll just remain there. You won't come, the point of, like, you know, of going into the cave, going into darkness, is so you can come back out again with renewed wisdom. Like, I see it with knowledge. Like, what's the point, like, learning things if you're not going to use it, you know? So going into the cave would be where you have the download, where you have the experience. But the point of having all of that is that you can come back out with wisdom, with learning, and then do something with it, you know, take action. What's the point just holding it all in your head? Like, you know, what's the point of having gone through that if you're not going to do something with it? So it's about kind of putting it into action, you know, and taking something from it, you know. So so you won't be initiated if you choose to just remain in that place, if you choose just to be in the darkness, or you choose not to do something with that. If you choose to remain hurt, you choose to remain ignorant, you know, whatever it is, you choose to remain in the pain, you have to come back out. That's that is the full initiation from beginning to end, is the going in and then the coming out.
Tell us about, can you tell us a story?
I have lots of stories. Is there a specific kind of theme that you'd like?
I love death and monsters and apocalypse and you know, scary, you know.
I mean, I could read you my Fenrir story if you want it from my book.
Sure. Yes, please. Yeah.
This is like an exclusive reading. Nobody else has heard this yet. You're being spoiled. So, like I said, the story of Fenrir, you know, in Norse mythology is the end times, but I wanted this story to be told from his point of view, you know, from the point of view of the monster, the guy who is considered to be the bad guy. So this is his version of what happened. So I'll just read it to you. I am born of fire and ice. I am the raging hot body of wolf. I am the ice-cold eyes, teeth, and claws of death. I am the burning flames of creation. I am the destruction that shatters a frosty mist. I am Fenrir, feared and loved, mighty wolf, destroyer, savior, shadow, and light. I first knew that I created destruction when they came. They came to our icy cave, and my mother tried to defend and shield us. With ferociousness, she stood before me and my siblings, her precious children, as the most powerful and strongest of Asgard came to take us away. Her tears turned to frost, becoming patterns of destiny woven upon the shields and swords of those who feared the children of Loki and Agraboda. Her beautiful sister held my paw tight until they took me away, my claws leaving red and black marks upon her hands. Yet she smiled, knowing and reassured me. We will meet again, dear brother. There is freedom in the end. They showed me that I was dangerous, and I looked back and saw my family torn from each other, my pack forever ripped from the safety we had taken for granted. My fault, my nature, my punishment, my blame. Now they have me bound, those great warriors. With dread in their eyes, they fettered and restrained me with chains. They fear me because I am unknown, different. They make me wrong. I have great potential, my mother said. No one will ever see you, Fenrir. Your wolf eyes are the darkness that lies within them. Yet though this burden lies with you, so does the answer, the hope. She saw as she fed me bones and blood, how they would laugh and mock at that which was frightening, and you would see it exiled. Yet she also saw something beyond this. And so I stir and I fight for my freedom. As they approach me now, I see the fear in their eyes and it feeds me. Their anger, worries, anxiety, and judgments make me grow bigger and stronger. Each time they look on a face of their own wrong, they call me bad. Mighty from the food of their fear, I rise and bite and struggle with my chain till they begin to strain and pull, and I begin to see that each time they call me wrong, call me bad, call me dangerous. I begin to question and curse my destiny and fate. There is sometimes nothing but pain, a blinding combination of fire and ice, never cooling, never warming, just piercing and unrelenting and unchanging. Yet one cold tear comes. He comes to meet me, and I see that it takes great courage. The courage begins to soothe the fear that I hold within me. I see his reflection in my eyes, and it feeds me with his acknowledgement. Every time he visits, I wonder if I am not as dangerous as they have made me. I pull back my claws and rest my weary body. Then he came, Odin, and he saw death. Then no chain was strong enough. He looked, he saw, and I was so fed with fear that I felt myself grow even beyond the boundaries of my own flesh. Odin and the others watched as Tyr asked me gently to open my jaw, and place it in my mouth his powerful hand. He told me his sacrifice was willingly made, offered on the altar, so that I would know, remember to trust in all that is meant to be. I did not understand as I saw them bring out what they called a silken ribbon. Yet I saw a deadly collar of barbs and spikes, and it pulled tight around my neck. Down came my mighty jaw, the power of all those fears placed upon and within me. Blood flowed, the gods laughed, and I felt shame. Then at the edge of the world, the boundary between light and dark, I was placed, there being no room for doom in the golden halls of Asgard. I lay chained there until I knew that I was merely waiting. I waited and waited until the time came the light began to recede, and the sweet rays of the dark cast a shadow upon my chains. One by one, they began to melt until my freedom was at last truth. And then I ran and ran and ran to my sister, with the memory of her blood on my paws, driving me deeper, deeper into the mountains. In the center of hell, I found her, beautiful, raging, and as strong as I remembered. She opened her arms and welcomed me to her home. Her home. This place is hers and hers alone. She rules and she decides. Banishment transmuted into power. Wrong made so very right. She looks into my eyes and I see resolution, tenacity, and the guarded strength of one who has chosen different, rather than play victim. I see and I know it too. I lie down and rest a while as my sister's walls nip at the dead flesh of my wounds, stripping it away. I sleep as they lick where I was bound, and their licks restore all that was broken. And when I wake, she places a hand at my neck and guides me to an underground lake. Here I look deep down into the reflection below me. I see all the fears, judgments, and conditions of other, what they have made me, what they have told me, what they chose for me. I let my grief and mourning flow as tears and sounds into the water, releasing hate and fear and shame, contempt and insecurity. I see all of it, not mine, none of it mine. I melt the ice and burn through all that bound and chained me. And then I look deeper, beyond all of that, and see my eyes. I see the sun and the moon. I see the above and the below. I see ends and beginnings. I see my mother, my father, my sister, my brothers, and something that is unmistakably and unapologetically me. I look and I feel the wind in my fur as I run and I leap. I feel the earth beneath my paws, deep in my claws, satisfying, making my body pulse. I feel every inch of my mighty presence, muscle to bones, blood to fur, heart to claw, mine, powerful, mine, strong, mine, ferocious, mine. I feel the chaos inside as threads to a great tapestry that now will be of my making. I see Fenrir. I am Fenrir. I will bring about the end that is the beginning. I am death and rebirth. I am fertile destruction and shifting foundations. I am the dark and I am the light. I am more and less than you can judge and decide. I am your greatest fear and your deepest hopes. I am the chaos and I am the resolution. I am war. Ow!
Beautiful, very revelatory. Revelatory.
I love his story. It's so powerful. That's the perspective of the bad guy, like, you know, who made me bad, like who decided I was bad, you know, who told me that, and why should I choose that? Yeah.
Where do you see this deity in this time period the most?
Well, you know, I think I see him in the children, in these children, you know, the children that are bound now, whether that, you know, are threatened, that are harmed, whether that be, you know, physically in some of the war-torn countries, or whether they are by social media. I see them, you know, I see the children as Fenrir. You know, people are telling them what they are, telling them what they should be, you know, telling them they're dangerous if they think too much, if they rebel too much, you know, if they are too individual, if they're too unique, you know, they will be dangerous. And yeah, I think they need to embrace everything that they are. You know, they need to kind of, you know, pull at those chains that are keeping them confined into a box, you know, that tells them what they should be. You know, I see yeah, I see the children as kind of what is labeled as the bad guys, because they're the ones that have the full potentiality to create change, to bring about the end. You know, that they are Fenrir because they will bring about the end of all that has been decided, and is told that, you know, it should be.
I see. I often say it's the demons that are the saviors, and it's the saviors that are the demons. That heaven makes the worst demons, and hell makes the best angels. And I see this in nature, like the poisons have some of the most potent poisons are the most powerful medicines. Do you have any thoughts on this in relation to anything?
Again, it's about the paradox. We all have that potentiality. I mean, just look at our words. Our words, are like, words can create and words can destroy. So, we have to be, this is why we need to understand ourselves and, and learn about our potentiality and what we can do, because, just the way that we say things, just by changing, the body language or the tone, you can either destroy or create something. I mean, look at all the ways that I can say I love you. You could say I love you in a way that absolutely destroys someone, and yet it can also create something as well. It can birth something. It can heal something. So we have that within ourselves. We can be poison ivy, or we can be healing ivy. And that's super powerful. And I think we need to. It could be really scary to know how powerful we are, but we have to. I know, and for a lot of people, the power can be the monster. Power can be the scary thing, the bad thing. They consider power to be the poison, in fact, because they see that there's lots of people in power that are doing poisonous things. But in fact, power could be the healer. Like money can be a good thing. It can be a healer. It can be the angel. Money can be, something that is the good guy. Yet we often consider it, because people have done bad things with it, that it's a bad thing, don't we?
Wow, beautiful. Can you, I was thinking, why don't you give us some advice or some inspiration in conclusion? And then after that, if you could do an invocation or a blessing on everyone watching, I deeply appreciate this.
So my advice, like the three principles, my advice are authenticity, courage, and trust. And those are the things I believe are most powerful to embody. Authenticity is about, being the wolf that we're meant to be. So contributing our uniqueness, our difference to the pack, because that's what's needed. We can't all be the leaders. We can't all be the followers. We can't all be the pups, the grandmothers. We have to contribute our uniqueness, and then we have to trust that uniqueness. I mean, we are called to trust and trust again and again and again, aren't we? It's not something that you just say, oh, I just trust myself. It's something you have to keep returning to. And it is just, trust is surrender. It's surrendering to, like, this is what it is. Like, I'm meant to be in this body. I'm meant to have this voice. I'm meant to look like this. I'm meant to do this. Like, it's just trusting that. And you display your trust by action, say that I trust my destiny by going out there and fulfilling it, by taking actions towards it. That's how you can show trust. And then, courage, the courage to trust, the courage to be authentic. Like, I think courage is very different to confidence. Confidence is kind of like, it's saying that you absolutely have confidence in yourself or something. I think courage is doing it, taking action, even when you don't have confidence. The courage is deciding, yes, okay, this scares the shit out of me, or I'm full of fear, but doing it anyway. The courage is just going there and showing up, again and again and again, no matter what you're feeling, no matter your doubts. It's showing that, something matters more than the fears and the worries and the anxieties. So my advice is to explore, those three things within yourself: trust, courage, and authenticity.
Something matters more than the fears and anxieties, and that's so inspirational. Because it's not denying that those things are there, but it's feeding the inspiration, and yeah.
And also, these fears will show us what's important. Like that, the anger as well. It will show you what's important. So if you get really angry about something, it shows what matters, what lights you up, what it is that you're fighting for. And so it's important, you know, they can be a signpost, all these things that we deem to be negative, you know. Okay, shall we finish up with something?
Yes.
Okay. So
Something intense.
sorry?
Something intense.
Okay. So I invite those that are listening to place their hands upon their body that feels somewhere that feels really good for them, that this feels right to place their hands there upon their body. And to take a deep breath in and out. And just feel that this wolf body beneath you is your answer. It is your beginning and your end. It is the destruction and creation. You are what was before and what is yet to come. You are all that is wrong and right. And then move your hands across your body now, just feeling all of your edges, all of the mountains and rivers, forests, caverns, and plains that is your body. I just ask you, can you trust yourself? Will you trust yourself? What do you choose? What do you choose? Do you choose to not be here, to not be present, to not live in this body? Or do you choose to be here fully, to courageously choose the blueprint, the destiny, the body, the life that you have been given? You are here for a reason. And just touching your body, know that this is not a mistake. There are no mistakes. This was meant to be. And this is yours, all yours. It's no one else's. It belongs to no one else. This is yours and yours alone. This is your power. So this is the creation. This is destruction. This is the beginning and the end. This is your answer, your question and your answer. It's all yours. So do you trust it? Do you choose to trust it? And to spend a few moments just breathing with your body, being yourself inside, in the underworld inside you. Perhaps you even see the caverns that are within you, deeper than the forests of your skin, going deeper down inside yourself. And in those caverns, in that darkness, seeing the glowing riches in you. See it glow. See it sparkling there in the darkness of your underworld. See how precious you are. See how rich you are. Rich by just having this body, this moment, this time, this space. I invite you to say to yourself, this is mine. This is mine. This is mine. I am me. This is my earth and my world. This is my beginning and my end. This is my power. This is my well. And I choose this. I choose me. So it is. So it will be. One last deep breath to finish. Move your body and I shake, stretch. Eyes feeling very present in your body. Thank you for being you. Thank you for all that you are and all that you can be. Thank you for the difference that you are. Thank you for the change that you are. Thank you for the depth that you are. You are perfect. Perfectly made, perfectly planned. And this is it. This is it. You don't need to seek anything. Everything is here. Precious, you are wonderful. Exactly as you are. All yours. Everything.
Thanks everyone who joined. Please check out her, please go and purchase her books and check out her website and all the links below. We would love for you to support our guests and please check out the wolves, get yourself some interactions with the wolf spirits and yeah, you wouldn't have a magical life and death process. Sagana Goa. Peace.